ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಟರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಸಾಕು. The concept of startup comes when somebody starts his own private limited company. Airline market is huge.
Correct.
And it's a very huge intense capital, and lot of cost is getting involved in that.
They can't sit idle. One
Exactly.
failure agide andre they have to try one or the other thing, right?
Shareholders ge loss ಆಯ್ತು, employees ge loss ಆಯ್ತು, lenders ge loss ಆಯ್ತು. So very first benefit that is for any startup is income tax benefit up to 20 lakh rupees. Maximum is 20 lakh rupees. It's a grant given by government. It's not just starting the company. A long-term vision is very important. This basically include venture capitalists, angel investors, a couple of mutual fund companies.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಮೈ ಡ್ರಾಪ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಆತ್ಮೀಯವಾದ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಎಪಿಸೋಡ್ ನಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಚಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್, ಕಂಪನಿ ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿ, ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್, LLB ಪದವೀಧರ ಮತ್ತು ಫೌಂಡರ್ ಅಂಡ್ CEO ಆಫ್ ವಿಭೂತಿ ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಹರ್ಷಿತ್ KS. ಹಲವಾರು ಉದ್ಯಮಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ದಶಕದ ಅನುಭವವಿರುವ ಇವರು ಬಿಸಿನೆಸ್ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್, ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಮತ್ತು ಬಿಸಿನೆಸ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ತಜ್ಞರು. ಇಂದು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಫಂಡ್ ರೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತನಾಡುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹರ್ಷಿತ್ ರವರನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಎಪಿಸೋಡ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸೋಣ. ಹಾಯ್ ಹರ್ಷಿತ್, ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಟು ದ ಶೋ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಕಂಗ್ರ್ಯಾಚುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ಓಪನಿಂಗ್ ಯೋರ್ ಓನ್ ಫರ್ಮ್ ವಿಭೂತಿ ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟೇಷನ್ಸ್. So proud of you. Being a friend, meeting out of school. I think we are friends from school.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and now professionally we are here in my studio.
Very good.
Welcome to my show again.
Thank you Mila, thanks a lot. It's a privilege for me also to be part of this particular show.
ಈಗ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಫಂಡ್ ರೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿದೀವಿಲ್ಲ ಹರ್ಷಿತ್. ಸೊ ಒನ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಆಂಟರ್ಪ್ರೆನರ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಆಸೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಈವನ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು ಅವರು ನಾನು ಆಂಟರ್ಪ್ರೆನರ್ಶಿಪ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಫೀಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ವೈ ಆರ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಬಿಹೈಂಡ್ ಚೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ಸ್?
Okay. See, obviously, as you said, everybody wants to start their own. ಅವ್ರದೇ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು, that's something that comes from within.
Correct.
So they don't want to report to someone. They want to have their own freedom. They want to put in their entire efforts for themselves. They want to grow for themselves. This basically tempts people to start something of their own.
Correct.
And now, in this space, how do we start? How do we execute that idea? That is where this concept of startup has come into picture.
Okay.
So this particularly is basically in 3 areas, especially as of now, as of today, it is in Bangalore, Pune, and then in Hyderabad. These are the 3 locations in India, cities in India, metros in India, wherein startups are having a fruitful area.
Okay.
Basically, certain factors are also influencing those things, majorly being the fundraising part. Today, anybody who wants to start their own, let's say for example, you can start your own proprietorship, you can start your partnership firm.
Correct.
And other things, you start your private limited company. The concept of startup comes when somebody starts his own private limited company.
Correct.
So this company is something different from a proprietorship firm and a partnership firm. The reason being, company is something having perpetuality. This concept is called perpetuality.
Okay.
It can run forever anta. So generally ivaga proprietorship firm ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, if a particular individual ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರು ಆ proprietorship firm na he is running it. When that individual passes away, that concept of firm is done.
Gone. Correct.
It's gone.
Correct.
Whereas in case of company, it can go on forever till the time we liquidate that company.
Correct.
So that is called as perpetuality. And second thing, regulations. So a proprietorship firm cannot raise funds from others, cannot raise funds from public. There are certain restrictions. Partnership firm alli kuda, the partners themselves have to infuse their capital.
Correct.
Avare funds ತಗೊಂಡು ಬರಬೇಕು. ಈ startup concept ಅಲ್ಲಿ now funds has no limit for who has to fund it anta. It can be funded by anyone. So that becomes a creamy layer with respect to people choosing startups.
Because they're funding a company, not
Exactly.
an individual.
They're funding a company and not an individual.
Correct.
And also there is one more concept called as bridge between owner of the company and the company in itself. So Companies Act 2013 anta one regulation. It's basically an enactment. It's law. That is what is governing all the startups today or companies today.
Okay.
So as per that act, owner of the company is separate from the company in itself. So based on this concept, funding, all of these things comes into picture.
Okay.
So that is a major reason why today people are preferring startups rather than starting it as a proprietorship concern or partnership firm or HUF or any other legal angle.
ಓಕೆ ಸೊ ಒಂದು ನೀವು ಪಾರ್ಟ್ನರ್ಶಿಪ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಪ್ರೊಪ್ರೈಟರ್ಶಿಪ್ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ.
ಹೌದು.
ಸೊ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಇಸ್ ಟ್ರೀಟೆಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಅನ್ ಎಂಟಿಟಿ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಒನ್. ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ಮೋರ್ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್? ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇಫ್ ದೇ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಪ್ರೊಪ್ರೈಟರ್ಶಿಪ್ ಇನಿಷಿಯಲಿ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್. ಮೇಜರ್ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ?
First difference is, as I was telling, initial funding. When you start as a proprietorship, you need to fund on your own till you stabilize.
Correct.
In case of startups, very first stage matra, there is something called as bootstrapping anta navante. A bootstrapping stage ali matra, the founder of the startup will fund for his startup.
Okay.
Then comes your pre-seed funding. The moment you reach pre-seeding funding stage, you can start infusing funds from outsiders.
Okay.
And in India especially, thanks to the concept of Make in India, Digital India or Startup India concept by our Prime Minister, the infuse of funds and government support for funding is also greater now.
Okay.
So there is this DPII anta,
Okay.
Department for Promotion of Industrial and Internal Trade anta antivara.
Okay.
So this organization is something which regulates all the startups in India as per Startup India.
Okay.
So any company who wishes to claim certain benefits from governmental bodies or any other regulatory bodies, they need to get registered. I mean, they need to disclose themselves as a newly budding startup in India.
Okay.
To this organization.
Okay.
And it's a very simple, today thanks to again Digital India, everything is online. So in a simple form, as long as you have all the documents with you, you will just fill those details in the form, apply it online portal, it goes to the DPII, they will approve it.
And approve it.
Verify. And it doesn't take much time also. It's
Okay.
hardly 5 days, maximum 5 working days.
Okay.
And anybody can do it.
Okay.
Generally what people do, they approve certain professionals like chartered accountants or lawyers, advocates, company secretaries.
So the process will be done.
It will be easier anta. But as long as documentation ella clear irovargu, getting yourself registered as a startup is easy. So adakke before you need to get, becoming a private limited company is mandatory for getting registered as a startup.
So incorporation, all those basic
avella common, company incorporation, company registration, director formation, DIN number, then digital signatures for those directors, and then getting themselves incorporated, incorporation certification, appointing a chartered accountant, appointing a company secretary. All of these things are basic,
Mandatory.
which is mandatory as per Companies Act 2013.
Okay.
After forming a company, then you need to register as a startup with DPII.
Okay. Okay. ಸೊ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ, ಅದು ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಕಷ್ಟನೇ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸಿ ಆಸ್ ಪ್ರೊಪ್ರೈಟರ್ಶಿಪ್ ಆರ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ನರ್ಶಿಪ್. ಸೊ ಈಗ ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ರು ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ದೇ ಶುಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ನೋ ದ cons of it.
Correct.
ಬರೀ pros ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು open ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ it will be difficult. So what are the cons of a private limited company?
Yeah, major thing is compliances.
Okay.
Obviously when money is getting involved alva, see private limited company andre the owner of the company has a liability limited to the extent of capital anta artha.
Okay.
So any shareholder, let's say for example I am one shareholder of a company, along with me 2 other people are shareholders. The company could have borrowed lot of money, but my liability and my co-shareholder liability is limited to the extent of my capital.
Okay.
The capital that I have invested. That is why it is called private limited liability company.
Okay.
Limited company. That is the concept of limited antartha.
Okay.
So since this risk is there, suppose a company can go and borrow certain money. It can borrow anything. Based on the trust on that company, the lenders can give it.
Correct.
Tomorrow, if the company defaults, owners have very limited liability.
Correct.
No, it's the company who has to pay. That's the reason compliances are more.
Okay.
ಈ ತರ issues ನ ಸೇಫ್ ಗಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ now there are a lot of regulatory reporting that needs to be done.
Okay.
Every month filing ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. Every month, I mean, books of accounts needs to be prepared. Yeah, obviously GST law, taxation laws and all come into picture. ಮತ್ತೆ for company specific, there is something called as annual returns. There is one body called as Ministry of Corporate Affairs ಅಂತ ಅಂತೀವಿ. MCA, a short form. That is somebody, it's more like a leader of all the companies or governing body of all the companies.
Okay.
So we need to file to MCA various reports, quarterly, annual reports file ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. On an annual, we need to file certain returns. Then our financial statements needs to be submitted. In between, MCA will suddenly ask us, I see that there is some discrepancy in your annual financial statements. What is the reason for that? Provide certain justification. Last yearಗೂ ಈ yearಗೂ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಒಂಚೂರು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ ಮಿ ಜಸ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್. ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ಕೀಪ್ ಆನ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್. ಸೊ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಒನ್ ಗವರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಬಾಡಿ who is ensuring that you are running in a proper manner.
Okay.
So to ensure that compliances are there. So now it's not just simply forming of private limited
Correct.
company. You should also be ready to comply with those aspects.
Correct.
Yeah, that is where obviously professionals like us come into picture.
Correct.
We will obviously help people in this compliances aspect. Probably what will happen, we have that expertise handling a lot of companies in that area. So that is about company law maintenance. At the same time, for the company's health also, there are certain activities that needs to be taken care by the company. So today what is happening, there are limitations with respect to borrowings that needs to be taken.
Okay.
Limitations with respect to assets that will be procured. What type of funds are being used for procuring assets? Once you raise capital from shareholders, once you raise money from investors, how are you going to use that funds?
Okay.
So you cannot randomly use the funds the way we want.
Correct.
There are certain caveats, there are certain regulations. Adr prakara maatrane ನಾವು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. And at the time of fundraising, we would have disclosed our plans. Let's say for example, in the next 3 years, ನಾನು ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. After that, R&D ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. That will be another 6 months. By then one prototype develop ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆ prototype ನ I will get certain licenses. So that like regulation fees na I will invest that funds for that. Then finally my product is ready. ಈ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ನ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಗೆ ನನಗೆ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬೇಕು. I will be using funds for that. Then finally for marketability of the product. So getting the product ready in the market, there is certain investment made. So I'll be using funds for that also. ಈ ತರ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ. So you need to go as per that plan. You cannot deviate that plan.
Correct.
If at all there is any deviation, now investors will question us. Governing bodies will question us. MCA will question us. Regulatory bodies will also question us. So ee tara things also will needs to be taken care. It's actually not easy, but it isn't difficult also.
Correct. It should be taken the way it should be.
ಅಷ್ಟೇ. Yeah.
ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತು ನಾವು ಪ್ರೋಸ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ, ಕಾನ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಬಟ್ ಈಗ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಇಂಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಅವ್ರ ಕಂಪನಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ದಟ್ ವೋಂಟ್ ಬಿ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ಟು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ. ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಟು ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಆರ್ ಟು ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡಿಫೈ ದ ಕಂಪನಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಲೈಕ್ ಆಸ್ ಪರ್ ಮೈ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್, ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ನ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡಿಫೈ ಮಾಡೋದು ಐ ಫೀಲ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲಿಟಲ್ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲಿಕೇಟೆಡ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಡು ಯು ಟೆಲ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಟ್?
Yeah. So ivaga when we form a private limited company, or if at all we are forming a company, it means that we are giving a new birth to one entity. So death of the entity also, there is certain process that will have to be followed. Again, Companies Act 2013 certain provisions na tagond bandide. We'll have to use it, I mean we'll have to liquidate a company according to that. Even we will have to approach NCLT, that is National Company Law Tribunal anta. They will also have to approve the process of liquidation of the company.
Okay.
And then this MCA also has to approve. For MCA has one authority called as we'll call it as Register of Companies, ROC anta antivi. ಈ ROC ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, generally when a company is formed, every company will have an identity number, basically registration number or incorporation number, which will be on the incorporation certificate. That number will be mentioned on the ROC, Register of Companies. In these companies, all the company details, a company name, all of those things will be there. Now we will have to remove that name from the register.
Oh, okay.
Or if the name will be there, he'll mention it as this company is no longer existing.
Okay.
Our process there is certain procedure. Very first thing will be you will have to take approvals from your shareholders. Obviously, end of the day, when you say shareholder anta andre, they have share in ownership of the company.
Correct.
So our approval ilde we cannot close any of the company. Cannot liquidate any of the company. And second one, there are creditors have certain power at the time of liquidation. So creditors andre yaar andre the persons who have owed certain money. I mean, they have provided certain money. Lenders anta. In simple terms, I'll keep it as lenders of the company. End of the day, if company is no longer there, who will pay the lenders?
Correct.
So lenders also have to approve that process. They will get involved. So all the assets of the companies will be sold. One professional will be appointed. He will sell from the proceeds of that sale of assets. He will pay these lenders. Then balance will be paid to the shareholders. Then only the owner or founder will be getting the balance money.
Okay.
Generally, if the company is going for liquidation, it means that the company is a failure anta artha.
Okay.
I mean, the business model would be a failure,
Mm.
or it is no longer profitable. In such case, creditors or lenders will have to waive off their lendings.
Correct.
It's a bad debt to them. So in other words, they will never get back that money that has been lent to the company. And after this liquidation process, the owners of the company, that is shareholders or founder or promoter of the company, he is relieved. Atara. He is not obligated to anyone.
Okay.
Atara.
Okay.
But again, when a company is formed, it would have provided a lot of employment to people.
Houdu.
So each and every state ka ROC will have to approve that liquidation process.
Okay.
Suppose we have a company formed in Karnataka. Now Karnataka government ROC will have to approve that. So stating that, I mean, they will have to get convinced saying that employees in Karnataka, whoever have been employed with that company, are okay, are safeguarded.
Okay.
In order to ensure that. If they feel that these employees are getting stuck, if these employees are getting defaulted, if these employees will go on roads, then they will not approve liquidation.
Okay.
The company cannot be killed.
Okay.
The company will continue.
Mm.
Best example for this was Jet Airways.
Okay.
So Jet Airways is such a big company. So it entered into certain debt trap. Too much of debt loans were taken, and whatever profits were being earned were sufficing only to repay the interest on that loans.
Okay.
End of the day, slowly again, airline market is huge.
Correct.
And it's a very huge intense capital, and lot of cost is getting involved in that. So in that way, the company was unable to sustain that. It was even unable to pay employees' salaries also. In such case, MCA did not approve
Okay.
liquidation of the company. The company, you operate, you run the whatever possible, pay salaries to the employee. Then we will, it was the liquidation process got delayed because of that.
Okay.
Then finally, somehow, the company could not sustain at all.
Correct.
ಇನ್ನೇನು ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. Nobody was able to even, there was not a single rupee that was capable of getting earned by in that company. That is when MCA approved its liquidation process. And again, it was a huge loss. Shareholders ge loss ಆಯ್ತು, employees ge loss ಆಯ್ತು, lenders ge loss ಆಯ್ತು. That's why again, good that you asked about this question.
Yeah.
It's not just starting the company. A long-term vision is very important.
Right.
And it's obviously a complicated process because lot of dependencies are there on this particular company.
Yes.
Where it
Because
gets
every year, as you told, ROC will be filed.
Yeah.
Yearly filing is
Returns
mandatory.
filing ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕು.
Correct.
Even at the time of liquidation stage ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು returns file
File
ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕು.
Only after once our registrar of companies ಅಲ್ಲಿ when we remove that name, when the name is removed or against that name it is marked as the company no longer exists, that is when we will stop annual filing.
Okay.
Till then returns will keep on filing.
But
your financial
if a founder
statements
of a company has done this and liquidified, ಅವ್ರು ಮತ್ತೆ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಬಂದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ
many
will
do
there
that
be a
alva.
provision
Many do that.
again to start a private limited
Yeah,
possibility
they can
ಇದೆ.
start. Yes.
Okay.
Provided that it will start from the scratch.
Yes. That is there. ಅದು process ಆಗಿರೋದು.
Correct. Generally that keeps on happening.
Because they can't sit idle. One
Exactly.
failure ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ they have to try one or the other thing, right?
See, obviously failures keep happening.
Correct.
That doesn't mean that is end of life.
Yes.
You need to start fresh.
Correct.
That is always there.
ಸೊ ಈಗ ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಮೇನ್ಲಿ ಫಾರ್ ಫಂಡ್ ರೈಸಿಂಗ್, ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ದ ಮೇನ್ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಏನ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಫಾರ್ ಫಂಡ್ ರೈಸಿಂಗ್?
Yes. So this Startup India concept started in 2016. 1st April 2016 in this particular concept came into India. This was actually to support the concept of Make in India.
Okay.
Why don't we manufacture things within India? Why don't we develop things within India? When we have so much technology, when we have so much manpower who are intellectual enough, why shouldn't the technology and knowledge be used within India? No concept alli 1st April 2016 in the benefits of Startup India started getting launched in India.
Okay.
So very first benefit that is for any startup is income tax benefit. Any startup from the day of its incorporation up to 10 years. See, obviously first year alli they will make losses.
Correct.
Loss iddaga income tax iralla. Second year also around 70% of the companies make loss. That to be frankly, until and unless the company is very strong, the product is very unique, it has been liked, it's a huge success in the market, people make loss, companies make loss, and it is acceptable.
Correct.
So in the first 2 years obviously there will be losses, income tax anodu iralla. Third year, generally that's basically a turning point of majority of the companies, they start looking phase of profits. So from the time they start earning profits, for the next 3 consecutive years there is no income tax liability, even though they make huge profits.
Oh,
that is
okay.
bumper profits.
Okay.
That is the very first benefit that is given under section 269 SAT anta ide of Income Tax Act. According to that section, there is no income tax liability for any of the startup for 3 consecutive years from the date of incorporation up to a period of 10 years.
Okay.
So let's say for example, ivaga 7th year in the it is started looking at profits. 7th year, 8th year, 9th year, it is exempt from profits. 10th year it needs to pay tax.
Okay.
I mean, on the profits it is exempted from the income tax. 10th year it has to pay income tax.
Okay.
So atara 10 consecutive years vargu it has timeline. This is the very first benefit. Second one is there are this program called as there is something called as FFS.
Okay.
Funds for Fund of Startups anta antivi idana. Idu ಏನಂದ್ರೆ there are multiple investment funds. It's called alternative investment funds, IAF ಅಂತ ಅಂತೀವಿ. This basically include venture capitalists, angel investors, couple of mutual fund companies. ಈ ತರ ಎಲ್ಲ this alternative investor funds ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, they will invest into startups. Our government, based on this Startup India model, there is this SIDB ಅಂತೀವಿ, small scale industries companies bank anta. I correctly don't recall that. There is something that which has allotted around 10,000 crores.
Okay.
So every year they keep allotting that. This money will be given to this alternative investment funds. This alternative investment funds ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, they will invest into startup after completely verifying and evaluating the startup's health.
Okay.
ಆ ಥರ.
ಸೊ ಈಗ ಇಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಫಂಡ್ ರೈಸರ್ಸ್ ನೀವು ಹೆಸರುಗಳು ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಹೌ ಡು ಅ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಹೂ ಇಸ್ ರೈಟ್ ಅಂತ?
ಯಾ, ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಯೆಸ್
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ? ದೇರ್ ಸೋ ಮೆನಿ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ರೆಡಿ ಟು ಫಂಡ್ ಯು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ರೈಟ್ ಫಂಡ್ ಯಾರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್.
ಸೊ ದೇ ವೆನ್ ಎ ಕಂಪನಿ ಗೋಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಫಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಸರ್ಟನ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್.
ಓಕೆ.
So first stage is called bootstrap funding stage, wherein the promoter or the founder they themselves invest into the company. Second stage is pre-seed funding anta antivi. That is basically after after forming a company. Now initial operational expenditure for hiring some team, support staff, intadakke certain funding ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. It is called pre-seed funding. Then comes your seed funding. ಈ ಸೀಡ್ ಫಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ R&D ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಪ್ರೋಟೋಟೈಪ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಈ ತರ. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದಟ್ A series ಫಂಡಿಂಗು, B series ಫಂಡಿಂಗು, C series ಫಂಡಿಂಗು, then finally pre-IPO funding, then IPO funding comes into picture. These are the various stages. Okay. There are almost 9 stages in funding for a startup. So there are fund like alternative investment funds dedicated for pre-seed funding matra.
Okay.
There are few alternative investment funds dedicated who does only seed funding. There are few
stage there are different,
in that way we
investors.
need to choose. Now, how will this is good. I mean, your question was how will a company know which agency, which funder should I choose? Anta. Now, how will the funding agency or funding investor choose which startup?
Correct.
So he will also have something. He will have various teams who will do a thorough investigation, thorough study on these startups to understand at what stage the startup is.
Okay.
Let's say there are certain products. Ivaga artificial intelligence is trending today. That is something in boom today. Including for the next 5 years, that is something which is prime market.
Correct.
So majority of the startups that are coming into market today are into artificial intelligence. So each startup seller, if you see, for them, there is nothing like prototype. They'll directly develop. So prototype is something for some manufacturing industry wherein certain product needs to be developed, some machinery equipment needs to be manufactured. That will be a model or prototype. Based on that, that will be marketed and then final production will happen. In case of AI and all, prototype annodhenilla.
Correct.
So directly they'll develop a model based on the customized requirements from the customers and all. Over here, pre-seed funding, seed funding, there is no differentiation. Both will be clubbed as one.
Okay.
ಅಂತದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಎವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ. ಹಿ ಕೆನಾಟ್ ಸೇ ದಟ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಫಾರ್ ಪ್ರೀ ಸೀಡ್ ಫಂಡಿಂಗ್ ನಾನು ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ ಇಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ ಇಸ್ advertising, the startup is coming up. Based on that, he will have to evaluate which stage it is and then he will do the funding.
Okay.
Yeah,
so basically on each stage, both of
Yes.
them according to their
Correct.
requirement, I think funding will happen, right?
Yeah. So actually, myself at Vibhuti Consultants, we also do this part.
Okay.
In order to help startups to approach which investor at what point of time.
Okay.
And also it depends on what value of money is required. There are a couple of investors who say, I will not touch a investment if it is less than 100 crores. But the startup actually requires 3 to 4 crores.
Correct.
So that is where we pitch in.
Okay.
From Vibhuti Consultants. We try to match the requirement and then we approach the fund agencies or these investors accordingly.
Okay. ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ, ಫಂಡ್ ರೈಸರ್ಸ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ವುಮೆನ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜ್ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ವಿಮೆನ್ ಆಂಟರ್ಪ್ರಿನರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಅವರು ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಇಫ್ ಶಿ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಅಂತಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನ್ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ?
Yeah. So in India, again, there is certain encouragement that is happening to women entrepreneurs.
Correct.
See, especially for some reason, it's always been household activity. And there are a lot of, today if you see, let's say for example, pickle manufacturing. They have also started coming up forward. Today, Indian pickles are getting exported to multiple countries and there's huge market for that as well. Similarly, papad making. Or there is something called in Gujarat. There is another this thing called as kakra.
Correct.
It's something. It's a snack item, which is quite popular. So basically, the success ratio of these women entrepreneurs, in an overall basis, it's very high.
Okay.
So and the businesses are actually doing very well, both in terms of technology, in terms of handloom products, in terms of any manufacturing products that are happening today. The success ratio is higher. So in order to encourage them, there are certain schemes that have come up from government to help these people in fundraising. So there is one scheme, it is called as Startup India Seed Fund Scheme, in which around 20 lakhs grant will be provided by government.
Okay.
So this preference is more to women. I mean, it is provided both women as well as men, no? But the preference is more towards the women. So this is more like a grant, 20 lakh rupees grant by government, provided that your idea is appreciated by the professionals who are sitting on that board.
Okay.
So this is also coming under again the same Startup India board only, and the professionals are also good. They're all educated. They have a series of there would be certain chartered accountants, some legal professionals, some industrial experts, technology experts, manufacturing experts, marketing experts. All of them would be sitting in the government body. I mean, a body. It's a committee that would be created. They will be approving this scheme. So in that way, today nearly around 900 to 950 women entrepreneurs have received this grant.
Okay.
That is what was in presented in the budget by our finance minister very recently.
Okay.
So in that way, there is a lot of encouragement. So it doesn't stop there. So 20 lakh rupees, up to 20 lakh rupees, maximum is 20 lakh rupees. It's a grant given by government. Along with that, 50 lakh rupees would be invested into equity of that company.
Okay. By the government.
By the government. Again, not government directly. It will not be President of India. So any transaction which is happening by Government of India, it is generally represented by President of India. But ಈ ತರ investment government direct ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. It will this alternative investment funds ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, through them it will route.
Okay.
Then in this way it will be supporting them. So a company basically can benefit to an extent of 70 lakh rupees at its seed stage. Here it is very clear. The government is very clear. It says this investment will happen to support your seed funding. Now you will develop your prototype ಆ seed funding stage ಅಲ್ಲಿ marketability ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂತೀವಿ, ಮತ್ತೆ you will ensure that your marketing activities is good enough and the product is good enough to launch in the market. ಅಷ್ಟುವರೆಗೂ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Once the product gets launches, then you will have to figure out your own investors. ಆ ಥರ. By then it would have converted into equity. There would be certain share of equity in yours. Maybe government can sell it or somebody who can buy, or the owner himself can buy it.
Okay.
Obviously ivaga nam company grow agide, now you feel that you are capable of standing on your own leg andaga, you yourself will buy off that stake.
True.
So your ownership will not be diluted. Entire ownership will be that with our entrepreneur himself or herself. So this is one benefit that is available. Generally, what I suggest to a lot of companies whom I help. So generally, as a fractional CFO, I work with companies, especially in startups. So fractional CFO model ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, we generally go to the startups and companies. We tell them, please outsource your finance and accounting team to us. We will take care of that. You focus on your product. You focus on your R&D. You focus on marketing. Compliance aspect, we will take care of that. Because we will have certain expertise, we would have taken care of multiple other startups. We can take care for you also. So this is called as fractional CFO concept. That is where I work in. I have expertise in that.
Okay.
So when I pitch in for any of the startups, this is what I guide them also. Compliances should be very strong, irrespective of whether or not your product is successful or not. Then automatically, see, product success ge one turning point ಸಾಕು.
ಹೌದು.
One flick of a second, if your product ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಯೂನಿಕ್ನೆಸ್ ಬಂದು ಈ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಆಗೋದ್ರೆ, ಇವಾಗ ರಾಮೇಶ್ವರಂ ಕಫೆ ನೋಡಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ, it has become so successful today, they are expanding rapidly.
Correct.
But having said that, their compliances are strong. No doubt it's a chartered accountant who is the founder of that company. Their compliances are actually strong. So that is what I suggest to any of the startup, irrespective of your product successful or not being successful, please be strong in your compliances. So that at least you are safe from government side. Regulatory bodies inda ನೀವು ಆರಾಮಾಗಿರ್ತೀರಾ. So that you can actually focus on development.
So ಈಗ ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್, ಕಂಪನಿ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ, ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ಓಕೆ. ಬಟ್ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪನಿ ಲಾಸ್ ಆಯಿತು, ಆವಾಗ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಟ್ರಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ದೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್. ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ?
ಯಾ, ಸೊ ಟುಡೇ ಇನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ, gone are those days. I mean, things have changed in such a way that investors have also become risk averse ಅಂತ ಅಂತೀವಿ ನಾವು.
Okay.
Risk averse ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, in their portfolio they will diversify things. As an investor, when I am having certain funds with me, ನನ್ನ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ನ ನಾನು ಅರೌಂಡ್ 20 ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಪ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಈ 20 ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಪ್ಸ್ನ ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸೇ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ 20% ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಇನ್ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರಿಂಗ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ, 10% of them will be in technology industry, tech-based industry, 10% will be in edutech, educational sector, another 20% will be in artificial intelligence. So in this, let's say for example, pretty sure in Indian trend today, from 2017 till date, 75% of the startups are failure.
Okay.
Only 25% of them are successful. ಈ 25% ಅಲ್ಲಿ 5% of the startups are unicorns today. So concept of unicorn is $1 billion valuation.
Okay.
So today our concept ಒಂದು ಬಂದಿದೆ. Everything depends on valuation. It is not about profitability. So this unicorns ಅಂತ ಈ 75% of the startups are a failure which yields nothing to the investor.
Correct.
But this 5% unicorn startups will take care of losses of entire 75%. So it depends on the smartness of the investor, how he is diversifying his portfolio in such that this 5% of legit business, or basically the businesses which are yielding bumper profits, should take care of rest of the business. So as a Vibhuti consultants, we guide the investors in that as well.
Okay.
Bridging the gap again with respect to a non-profitable startup to profitable startup.
Okay.
And for an investor to be successful, he should also have significant size of business. ಇವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆಸ್ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಟೆಲಿಂಗ್ 10,000 crores of fund that is allotted by government, especially for seed funding. ಈ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ನ ಈ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ಗೇ ಕೊಡೋದು. ಐ ಮೀನ್ ಆಲ್ಟರ್ನೇಟಿವ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ, IAF ಅಂತ. ವೆಂಚರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಮರ್ಚೆಂಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕರ್ಸ್. ವೆನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಗಿವನ್, ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಟೆಲ್ಸ್ ದೆಮ್, I will give you only 1/3 portion of the fund. I mean, maximum 1/3 portion of your entire total fund. Rest 2/3 you will have to bring that money.
Okay.
Either from public you bring, or from your own investors you bring. You yourself put that money. So this investor have a pool of money. They will invest into startups.
Okay.
So these investors also thoroughly study the startup. So the moment they put in money, alva, they will not leave the startup freely. Every month
They'll have
frequent reviews ಆಗ್ತಿರತ್ತೆ, ರಿಪೋರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಲೇಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ.
Because money is involved.
Exactly. So as a fractional CFO, I also deal with that. Investor relationships is also something that I take care.
Okay.
So whenever investors come up saying, ನನಗೆ ಈ ಮಂತ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ನನಗೆ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, we will have to provide their reports.
Okay.
Our reports ಎಲ್ಲ will have in varied formats, and there are multiple financial KPIs that gets involved. Certain cases what happen, promoters or founders will even not understand those. So that is where they will actually need a genuine help.
Correct.
So wherein we will pitch and guide them, and we will take care that responsibility. We will ensure that investors are happy with you.
Correct.
So ಇವಾಗ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ ಇದೆ, investors should be happy with them, government should be happy with them, regulatory bodies should be happy
Should
with
be
them.
maintained neutrally with everyone.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that they can actually peacefully focus on them. Sometimes what happens, if they are stuck with any of these bodies, entire energy of the founder or promoter will focus towards them.
Because one side investor will be pressurizing,
Actually,
otherwise they can't concentrate on marketing though.
Correct.
Yes.
Then they will actually lose the focus on
Correct.
the product. That also sometimes become a failure.
Correct.
So in such case, we pitch in and we provide certain
Neutralize
support
things.
to startups.
Yes.
That is about this thing.
Yes. So Harshith, in your experience of almost 10 years,
Yeah.
so what was that one moment which gave you that happiness? What was that mic drop moment where you felt, okay, I'm in this field and I'm satisfied and happy?
Yes. So basically when I was working with Tata Group companies, so the company name is Tata Advanced Systems Limited.
Okay.
So there was one massive project that came in. So migration of the ERP system. So wherein from an Oracle based ERP system in the SAP based ERP system, they had to migrate. So it's not just a software migration or accounting migration. It involved entire business migration.
Okay.
So for the entire group of Tata Advanced Systems Limited, for this particular defense business, from the scratch, we happen to get the team assisted in migrating the software to SAP HANA, which is trending today. So I happened to successfully do that in a period of around 9 months time.
Great.
So that became, I mean, the success of that, the launch of that period. I mean, when they migrated to SAP HANA, very first transaction which happened in SAP HANA, that was my drop moment.
Okay.
So that became a triggering point. Allinda it started on positive.
Nice.
I mean, wherever I entered, it turned out to be positive things.
Yes.
And that's wherein today also into my business with Vibhuti Consultants.
Yes. So I would like to thank you for your time, giving your suggestions to new people who want to start up their own ideas and bloom their ideas. So one takeaway from this episode, have a proper consultant.
Yes.
ವಿತ್ ದೆಮ್. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಆಸ್ ಯು ಟೋಲ್ಡ್, ಎಲ್ಲ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಟರಿ ಬಾಡಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ಈಸಿ ಫಾರ್ ಅ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ ಫೌಂಡರ್.
Yes, exactly. You're right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harshith, for gracing this show.
Thank you, Megha. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
ನೋಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಎಪಿಸೋಡ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ನಿಮಗೆ ಯಾರಿಗೇ ಆಗಿರ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಅನ್ನೋದಿತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ರೈಟ್ ಟೈಮ್. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಂಪನಿನ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಆಗಿ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಿಮ್ ಕಂಪನಿನ ನೀವು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಅಪ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಅನ್ಫಿಲ್ಟರ್ಡ್, ಅನ್ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟೆಡ್ ಮತ್ತು ಅನ್ಮಿಸಬಲ್ ಕಾನ್ವರ್ಸೇಷನ್ಸ್ಗಾಗಿ ಹಂಸ ಟಿವಿ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.